Update 9.1 brought a new map into the game, Kharkov, 1943. This city was the basis for the first historical map in World of Tanks. To create this location, we found dozens of archive documents, studied hundreds of photos, and spent thousands of working hours. It took several months to develop the map and balance the bases. Most maps in World of Tanks have three main locations or routes of attack. In Kharkov, these are the square, the old city, and the center. This separation, however, is relative, and there are no distinctive borders between the directions. Why is that?
We wanted to pick just the right part of the city for the game, and this was our final choice. It features a complex network of streets and crossroads, allowing for dynamic fights and many different tactics. Thanks to the combination of open and closed spaces, long alleyways, and cramped blocks, the games on this map are very diverse. At any given moment, players can move to another flank and help their allies there. There are always several ways to continue the fight, and even if one team is outnumbered, they still have a chance to win. This is what our players like. In the future, we plan to add more maps based on real, historical events.
Now, let's take a closer look at the map. We start off in Dzerzhinsky Square. That was its name during World War II. The fast vehicles are the first to get here, as expected. There are lots of barricades and trenches, which is an advantage for the tanks with solid turrets and good gun depression. However, don't forget that artillery can sweep these spaces very well. Medium tanks usually take the square, while heavy tanks and destroyers go to the opposite sides of the Gazprom building and in the passages under it. These positions are well protected from the enemy's SPGs. What should be considered while playing on this flank?
First, keep in mind all the numerous positions where you can hide the lower front part of your tank and just show your turret. Hide behind destroyed vehicles and piles of trash. Remember that once you're in a passage under the Gazprom building, you can shoot towards the square and in the opposite direction. I'd also like to mention the K7 position. You can, of course, get in there, but it won't do you any good, so you really don't want to.
The old city is on the opposite side of the map. It lies in a hollow, so most parts of it can be shot at from the outskirts. A tank can hide behind houses and hills for a while, but the best protection against artillery and tanks is a steep slope. Once you're under it, it's fairly easy to control a chosen direction. If you're starting on the first base, this would be square C2. If you have some allies positioned there, you can cover them from C1, E2, and F2. If you're starting on the second base, the key point of this sector is C3. If you want to cover your allies, the best positions for this are C4, B4, and A5. Keep in mind that the old city is not a viable position unless your allies are covering you. If not, it's better to stay uphill and engage the enemy closer to your base.
This sector is good for fast vehicles. It's not easy to play here. The majority of the flank can be shot both by artillery and the tanks in the center. However, you cannot abandon this sector because doing so will allow your enemies to get to your base from the rear.
Most fights take place in the center of the map. Ruined city blocks with numerous passages and firing lanes are perfect for a dynamic fight. Curved streets and tall buildings make it hard for artillery to be effective. Pay close attention to the arches in the buildings. Not only do they allow you to shoot and be shot, but also to quickly flank an enemy. Once you're in the small ring, you can counter the enemy's vehicles moving towards the square. The street is broad and open, so don't stay there for long or you risk getting into a crossfire. The most intense fights usually take place on the big ring, so this is the sector for heavily armored tanks. The armor, however, won't be of much help unless your allies cover the passages nearby. Oftentimes, the outcome of the battle depends on the fights in two blocks next to the big ring. Thus, while good shooting is important, you must also constantly analyze the situation on the minimap. Keep that in mind. There are many good positions on the map, too many to mention them all. That's why we decided to show you the most interesting from the developer's point of view.
There are several interesting places near the central block. First, the passage between the houses in the block itself. From here, you can hold the D7 F5 diagonal. The exit from the block can be perfectly shot through from this window. Also, while the F6 position is quite obvious, the position in F8 is hard to find. There are lots of such long firing lanes around the map. Seek and use them. Overall, we've accomplished a great amount of work trying to make this map interesting for all vehicle classes. We do hope that the players will really enjoy this map. May you achieve victory.